Starting.
Yeah, هلا المفروض يطلع live. Okay, and we are
Okay.
live. All right, good, good, good. Hi everyone, we are live. Sorry, we're a bit late. We had some technical issues, but anyways, we are back. Good morning, Daoud. Where are you now?
It's 7 p.m. here. I'm in Amman. Everything seems to be cool now that the missiles and the sirens have stopped for a few days. Hope it continues, but yeah, there's a little quietness. Hopefully, it will last. We don't
Well,
know.
we don't know. It's like now. It's honestly,
Hello, you
yeah,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear
I
you.
hear
Can
you
you?
fine. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, who knows what's gonna happen?
Okay.
It's becoming like ridiculous. Missiles on, missiles off. It's exhausting and ruining the tourism and ruining the economy, and it's just causing havoc on all the region. But I think the biggest news of last week was a kind of disturbing story, which is what's happening in the West Bank, the settler violence. What do you know? I just read the news and I saw that footage of the settlers running down the hill, which was like really scary. So what's going on, Dawood?
The situation has been getting worse and worse. I was in the West Bank last week, and there's these metal gates at every village, every town. Anytime the Israelis want to, they can lock them up, and people get imprisoned. What happened last week was that every single day, Jewish settlers have been going on rampages and pogroms all over the West Bank, choosing the nearest town to their settlement, and just burning, throwing, gasoline and burning places. And in this village called Tel, the people just stood up with their bare chest. They have no weapons, they have no stone, they just stood up. And the settlers kept on pushing to them. And one, courageous or crazy Palestinian snatched the gun from the Israeli settler. And then afterwards there was shootout, and two Israelis were killed, four Palestinians were killed. And then they entered into two mosques and they burned the two mosques. And the situation has gotten worse. Netanyahu ordered more units of the army to go into the West Bank and go into the villages and arrest people and make sure there's no guns there and so on. So the situation, to me, is like what it was on the eve of the first and second Intifada. People are angry. People are frustrated. People don't see any political horizon. They don't see any future. The Al Aqsa Mosque last week was, 1,000 Israelis entered the mosque and started praying Jewish prayers. And the situation just is becoming really, really bad. And, the whole oxygen, the media is paying attention to Ukraine, to what's happening in the Iran war, and very few, really, really, really bad.
So what do the settlers want? Like, what do they want? Why are they like? What is the end game
Oh,
here?
they want everybody to leave. They want ethnic cleansing. It's clear what they want. They're trying to terrorize. And even yesterday, the former chief of the army, the former defense minister, what he said. He said, "This is Jewish terror." Because they always call what Palestinians do terror, but now their Israelis are calling what their fellow co-religious carrying out terror. And I believe we're at the edge of a new uh, Palestine-wide intifada or third intifada, because the situation cannot go on like this. The Palestinians are basically handcuffed. They're not able to help their fellow Palestinians, and the world is not paying attention. The Americans and the British say things that this shouldn't happen, but we'll see if Trump talks about it when he meets with Netanyahu. I don't think it's going to be an easy meeting, by the way,
Why?
between Trump and Netanyahu.
Because
What
of
do you think?
Iran. Because I mean, is he still? I mean, is he annoyed that he got dragged into
Gaza, Iran, Lebanon,
that he got
a lot of
that?
things that the Israelis are not carrying out what they're promised to carry out.
What did they promise to do in Iran that they did not carry out?
Well, in Iran, they're trying to push Trump to do more and more. They're trying to push him to give up on the memorandum of understanding. They want him to to obliterate the missiles, to stop supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis. They want many things, the Israelis. I'm not sure it's into the national interest of America or the economy of America or even the policies of America first that Trump talks about. But yeah, they want many things, the Israelis.
But okay, so back to the settlers. Who is leading them? Who is making them take these moves? Do they have a leader that pushes them? Is it Ben Gvir? Like, who is kind of pulling the trigger for them to go attack?
Well, the most important thing is they don't feel accountable. So they don't have to worry about if they do something that they will go to jail, because they know that Ben Gvir has basically given them immunity. Smotrich has said, do whatever you have to do. So they get the political support from the Israeli cabinet and even Netanyahu and the army. The army comes in and stands with them, and they try to, balance things. But the army is supporting them. The political side is supporting them, and they, their settler leaders want to terrorize Palestinians, so Palestinians leave. Every time Palestinians leave, they take over their land. So it's a no-brainer. They want Palestinians to leave.
Okay, but the Israelis in Tel Aviv, at least some Israelis in Tel Aviv, are upset about what's happening. And was it yesterday that they demonstrated against Israeli settlers? Is that a new development, or is that going to change things, especially when the November elections are coming up? How is that changing things?
October 28th is the Israeli elections.
Okay.
And between now and October, there will be competition about who can do more to hurt the Palestinians, who's tougher with the Palestinians, who's opposed to the Palestinian state, like Bennett said today. And so I don't expect anything to soften up between now and the elections. Some of them, they realize that this might be their last chance in being in power, so they want to get as much as possible, create as much facts on the ground so that it created an irreversible situation. So that's what they're trying to do, whether they win or lose. And until then, they want to have as much proof to their voters that they're really tough with the Palestinians.
And when you mention third Intifada, like, what do you mean that you think it's good? Like, when I remember growing up in Jordan, and when the first Intifada happened, I remember I was like in maybe middle school, and the image that comes to mind is kids throwing stones at tanks. That's for me the image of the first Intifada. What would a third Intifada look like?
It's hard to know. The first Intifada was largely economic boycott of Israelis, not to working Israelis, and yes, stoning Jewish settlers that drove by Palestinian towns. Second Intifada was much more lethal. There was a lot more attacks against the Israelis, and the Hamas was born, actually, Second Intifada, and they created suicide bombings and so on. I don't know whether the third Intifada would be non-violent or more violent. Nobody knows. It's a big question mark. But what is clear is that people have had it. People are no longer waiting for a solution from the UN, waiting for a solution from America, waiting for a solution from Mahmoud Abbas. They're not expecting solution from anyone, certainly not from the Arabs. And so I think there will be some type of a popular revolt. What shape it looks, who will be the leaders, we don't know. And again, Palestinians have their own elections in November 28th, and we'll see if that plays into the protests or not, whether people will keep quiet so that they can save their lives, or whether they will become courageous like this man who plucked the gun and started shooting, got himself killed. So anything is possible, but certainly there is not much hope. And when there's no hope, people do all kinds of crazy things.
So basically what you're saying is that the future is very bleak when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli issue. And it's, I don't know, you're like, now I'm really depressed.
It's been bleak for a while, but I think it's reached the red line. People were upset, but they were basically able to tolerate the
Hmm.
situation. Now it's becoming intolerable.
Oh wow. Well, in Jordan, there's been development after the announcement of the Pentagon that 2 U.S. soldiers were killed. Actually, three. Was it three in an in an attack on the Jordanian on Jordan because they
A
attacked.
Jordanian base populated by American and
Correct.
German and British and French
Correct.
soldiers.
So this is
Just to be fair.
this is kind of confusing me because the Jordanians are saying we don't have the US base, but we have Jordanian bases where the US forces are operating. Correct? And
No, Natasha, the U.S. forces have an agreement that they can come in and leave without asking permission from the Jordanians. So any number of American planes, military planes, can land in the base, can leave the base without saying hello to anyone, without asking permission. Now, whether any attacks on Iran took place from Jordan, we don't know. And it doesn't look like they took attacks from Jordan because it's a bit far from Iran. But certainly there are activities there, and there are American soldiers as well as others. I mean, these bases were created actually against ISIS, against the Islamic army in Syria, but they're also used for, for other countries that are allies of Jordan.
And so, as a reaction to what happened, I read that there was like a number of Jordanian politicians, like around 200, they signed a document that they want those, if you want to call them US forces or US bases, removed. How effective is this document, or is it going to be ignored? And there were like 200 people who signed it. They were thinkers, intellectuals, and political activists. And they were mostly left-wing Islamist and pan-Arab intellectuals.
Where did you read this? Because it wasn't published in Jordan.
I have my
There was
sources.
nothing published about it in Jordan, but
really?
on social media, not even not on social media, on groups, on Facebook groups,
Correct,
on WhatsApp groups. There is a statement. Look, the statement is not unusual. It's a call that many leftists and Islamists and pan-Arabists have called for many times, that there should not be any American soldiers on Jordanian territory. So the call is not usual. The number of people is large, 200, although very few of the, let's say, mainstream politicians or leaders. There's a few former members of parliament, former heads of small political parties, but mostly they are activists, writers, and intellectuals that and they make good statement. They say, look, this MOU I just talked about should be rescinded. There should be no usage of our airports, should be neutralized. They should not be used by the armies, and that the base should not have any foreign soldiers that act on their own. But again, the number of people who signed it is important, but let's say the effectiveness of them is not as big, but it is an important statement. Unfortunately, Jordan is kept this unpublished, and I think we should let Americans know that there are people who are against the Americans. There are people who are for Iran. So when Iran said that they thanked Jordanians, I think they are right. There are some who support Iran. But Jordan is an ally of the U.S., and the majority of the people do support this alliance. But there are people who are against it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the quotes that I saw from former Jordanian politicians says the U.S. partnership is a matter of Jordanian sovereignty, but we don't want Jordan to be an arena of conflict between Iran, Israel, or anyone else. Another quote, we are stuck in the middle, and America has left Jordan exposed. Do you think, because
Sure.
was it, I saw somewhere, and I was actually shocked because Trump blamed the Jordanians for the death of the Americans. Like, oh, well, they didn't do their job. Did you hear that? Where he blamed the Jordanians? Yeah,
I didn't see that.
I saw that somewhere.
And Trump has not talked to has not talked to any official. They have not talked to the king or the prime minister, which is a shame because I mean Jordan is bearing the brunt of the American war that they are not involved in. So it's a shame. I mean, it's shameful if Trump made that statement. I don't know what the background to that statement is.
Let me look it up. I saw it on. I heard him. It was populate circle on social media. They asked him uh, by Trump. Let's say blaming Jordan.
You know the name, putting Jordan on CNN, that there were people killed in Jordan, killed the Jordanian tourism. You know,
Yeah.
Jordanian tourism was starting to resurrect and starting to improve, and this came and headlines were 2 Americans were killed in Jordan, and you know anybody who was thinking of coming to Jordan stopped coming. So.
Yeah. This is the
said
statement.
Jordan
Peter
after
Chris
death.
Jordan after death of the U.S. And he said, yeah, it was a meeting, and he said Iran slipped something through the Jordanian territories that would not have happened if American forces or personnel had been in charge. When you let
Okay,
others
so they
do,
want to be in charge of the basin here. They want like the way they
yeah.
have control over the bases in Qatar and Kuwait and Bahrain.
And he said,
Jordanians,
when you let others do your job, things do not always go well. So it's a harsh criticism to it's the
very
Jordan
harsh.
is
It's very.
it's
I
one of its
I
allies,
didn't
but
see this or hear it.
yeah, because I think the Arab media is not reporting on it. Are they? It's
I didn't hear it. That's the first I hear it.
yeah.
It is worrisome. I mean, I really think it's a shame that Trump would make such a statement. I think they should be congratulating the Jordanians for not kicking them out. I mean, you know, if people know about this, the 200 will become 2,000 people signing this document.
If they
So
know
no,
the
it's not a very.
So if they watch this show, maybe the number of people would increase. but okay, so I think we mentioned something about the tourism in Jordan, and I think you wrote something about it. Is that correct? That tourism income went down 5%.
A lot, I think. 5% in the first quarter of 2026.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, this is before the war. I mean, first quarter is mostly before the war. After the war, it went much worse. And I think that basically the people who are in charge of incoming tourism say the whole 2026 is shot. You know, if anything, maybe 2027 would be better. But already they've given up on this year having any reasonable kind of improvement in their tourism. They expect that they need 10 million JDs just so that the tourism sector can pay off the salaries and the social security benefits of their staff. Otherwise, they'll have to kick them out and put them in the street. So it's not a good situation. Although there's some interesting economic positive things in Jordan. The prime minister was in Aqaba yesterday, and he said 2 major programs are coming. One is the national water carrier. There's going to be desalination plants on the Red Sea, and they're going to carry, and a lot of countries, the US, the EU gave a lot of money to this, the Germans, Jordanian banks have put money into this, about a 5-point-something billion project that will carry water all the way from Aqaba to the center of the country. Another project is a UAE Jordan project, which is the Aqaba train port, and they're creating train tracks from Aqaba that will eventually cover the entire area. Right now, it's to carry phosphate to the Aqaba airport, but it will also in the future carry people, and it will bring the Red Sea port of Aqaba all the way to Syria, Iraq, and eventually Lebanon and Turkey. So there's a lot of things happening, and this is good for the economy. You know, Jordan's economy in the first quarter of 2026 grew by 2.9%, which is really good. It's not a recession at all, even though tourism has been hit, but everything else is doing very well.
Yeah, well, I guess because they're mostly Arab partners, they're not worried. If it was American partners, they would be scared. I don't know. I mean, that's, I think, one reason.
They're strategic partners. I think UAE is strategic. EU is a strategic partner. The Germans are strategic partners. So I think we're not talking here about tourists coming. We're talking about a country-to-country cooperation. And I think on that, Jordan is a very strategic country, and they want to make sure it is saved and supported, and its economy going well.
So I want to go back to Netanyahu visiting. He's coming to Washington, and
will he be well received?
Exactly.
Natasha?
So there was an article from Politico saying this was the headline: Netanyahu's finally getting his White House meeting. He may not like what comes with it. So because, and also it said that he spent more than 2 weeks trying to get on the calendar. And then there's a White House official told Axios that Bibi was trying to will a meeting into existence. And he says that he's deeply unpopular in Washington these days among Democrats. Even MAGA is also kind of losing the love for him. And so do you think is that we're going to see that his popularity is going to keep declining, and that would really affect the US-Israeli alliance, and we will probably see that during the meeting?
Well, what I would hope for is they also talk about Lebanon, which, the Americans and the Israelis and Lebanese signed the framework agreement in which slowly the Israelis will withdraw from different towns. They withdrew from one town, but they continued attacking other towns, which is, a violation of ceasefire. In Gaza, they continue to violate the ceasefire, and people are still getting killed. And in both places, the only ones violating the ceasefire are the Israelis. Hezbollah has not attacked them. Hamas is not attacking them. They feel, empowered. Nobody is holding them accountable. So I would hope that Trump would make sure that they carry out the promises of the ceasefire. But I think on the Iran issue, I think Trump will use Netanyahu to kind of scare the Iranians. Okay, here's your chance. We're almost there in the negotiations. Let's make the last step and get this peace agreement reached so that we don't have to go back to war and don't have to use Netanyahu to attack you as well. So I think that's the only reason why I think he agreed to have a meeting with Netanyahu, because Netanyahu is going to be in Washington for the funeral of Graham. So I think they felt it would be embarrassing if he's in Washington, will not meet Trump. But you're right, Trump's supporters are not happy with the Israelis because they pulled them into a war that is a losing war. There is no way that America could win this war. They cannot. They have to find a solution to the Strait of Hormuz. They have to find a solution to the nuclear issues. They're not going to win. There is not going to be surrender. There's not going to be regime change. So any agreement that will be reached, if they charge $1 at the Strait of Hormuz, the Americans will be losing.
And even if they used all their military power and carpet bombed the whole
they
place.
have already. They've been using it for 5 months now, and nothing has happened there. There is not going to be a regime change. The Islamic Republic of Iran is not a pushover. They are 90 million, a huge country with all kinds of resources. Yes, they've been weakened, but they're certainly quite strong and alive. And the more they attack them, the more they will be more stubborn and refusing the American plan. They have to find a solution. America will have to find some type of a common ground with Iran. There's no two ways about it. It's just a question of, which, how will they cover it? Will they make an Omani Iranian committee that regulates the Strait of Hormuz? Anything they do, as I said, even if they're charged $1 a ship, they basically set up a process, a new paradigm that is different than what it was before the war began. And that's what the Iranians want. They want to show the Americans that you are the ones who got us to take control over the Strait of Hormuz. And
Hmm.
geography, Natasha, geography is not negotiable. You can negotiate on everything, but geography is there. You are there. Iran is there. Oman is there. The Arab countries and the Gulf countries are there. You can do everything you want, but the geography cannot move. You cannot wish Iran away. Iran is going to be there, so you have to find ways to deal with Iran. And I think the sooner that the Americans understand that and cut their losses and get out of Iran, and get whatever they can in negotiations, and maybe go back to the Obama plan, and that's it. I mean, they are losing support. The Israelis are losing support in America. The Republicans are going to get killed in the midterms. There's nothing, and the legacy of Trump has already now been stamped with the Iran war. He will always be remembered as this twice impeached president and the one who got America into a losing war in Iran. That's not the legacy he wants.
Oh, wow. And Mamdani and New York's Netanyahu's visit. So, did you hear what he said? He said that federally he cannot stop Netanyahu from coming to New York. What did he change his tune, or like did not understand
No,
what was happening?
look. Everybody knew that a mayor doesn't have the power to arrest the head of state. I mean, but I think he milked this issue. The video that he made, the last video he made, where he actually explained the whole record of Netanyahu as a war criminal, did more harm to Netanyahu. I mean, I think, I don't know, got 10 million views or some amazing number of views. So the fact is, he tried, and his lawyer said you cannot do it. But I think by continue to expose Netanyahu as a war criminal, the American people, the international community all understands and realizes that this guy is, maybe he has a few months before the elections, but that's it. He's going to be politically, buried after the elections if he loses.
Netanyahu, you think he's gonna lose?
So far, most polls don't show that he can win, and
Yeah.
if he can't win, if they can create a coalition, even with a minority, what they call a minority government, he will be out. The moment he's not a prime minister, the law in Israel is very tough. He cannot do anything. If he's not the prime minister, he will go to jail, or he will make maybe a deal that he will never be in politics again. But he will be. I mean, they will do an investigative committee about the October 7th events, and he will really look bad because he's been giving money, allowing Qatar to give money to Hamas all the time, and it's going to be all exposed.
But how would that reflect on the Israeli people if Netanyahu wins and the public image of Israel and the Israeli is that they re-elected a war criminal, or they're not worried about that public image?
No, I don't. More than other than Netanyahu, there's the defense minister is also wanted as a war criminal, and I think they wanted to have more war criminals. They have Ben Gvir and Smotrich are now banned from going to, I think, France and other countries. They don't care. They're, some say, we're God's chosen people and we don't care. They think America's behind them, or they are behind America. And as long as America supports them, they don't care about the rest of the world. But I think, eventually they will understand that what they have done is a really genocidal war crime that they have to be held responsible for. They cannot continue to do what they do without any accountability.
Will we live to see the day when they're held responsible?
I don't know. Maybe you will. I don't know. You're younger than me, Natasha. I know you just celebrated your birthday. We will not say whether it's 30, 40, or 50, but
yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I think we're out of time, but I want to thank people who joined us today. We have one brilliant ARC, and I have my friend Carla. Hi, Carla. I think she's joining us from Greece. And just one announcement, and thank you for all who supported our show and became a paid subscriber. We welcome their support.
we have a strong benefits.
Yeah, you
Strong
can tell us
benefits.
about.
We're
Yeah,
going to be available 1 hour a month for any of you to talk to any of us and pick our brains, talk to us on any issue, and you will have access if you want to contact details in the Middle East. Any politician, any journalist, any NGO, any church, any mosque, any leader. If you're interested to talk to people, you want their number, their email, I'll do my best to help you reach these people and connect with them. So you're more than welcome, and thank you for supporting us. And we call on more and more to support us. You will not be sorry about being a paid subscriber, I promise you.
thank you, Daoud. And thank you for everyone who joined us and for anyone who's going to be watching the replay. We're also on Substack. We're on YouTube. Feel free to reach out to comment. We've been answering all the responses that we're getting on YouTube, which is exciting. We're glad people are watching. And we will see everyone next week, same time, for another episode of two Arab journalists, one Levant, and maybe we'll have a guest next week. Who knows?
I'll
Maybe
get you a guest. We're going to get a good guest.
All right, excellent.
Stay tuned.
All right,
Stay
thank you,
tuned.
Dawood. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.